This is the 18th story from the London Plus book called The Mother's Hospital. I'm not sure if you know the Salvation Army. They are a Christian religious organisation whose main aim was the collection of more members. Maybe that's the same with all religious organisations. But they also had halls for religious services and hospitals. When we, Noreen, my wife, and I, arrived in London, the Mother's Hospital was our nearest maternity hospital and was run by the Salvation Army. When Noreen was expecting our first child, she felt the first pains during the day. We had been told to wait until the contractions came regularly, about every 10 minutes. That must have been at around 9 o'clock on Saturday evening. So we walked off to the hospital. It was about 10 minutes' walk away. We went into the reception and a porter was called who put Noreen in a wheelchair and took her down to the labour ward. I waited while the midwife examined her and then called me in. The midwife said things would take quite a while before the baby would be born, so she suggested I go home and they would call me when things started to progress faster. So I said bye to Noreen and headed back to our flat. I went to bed early as I thought I might be up early next day. Then just after I'd got to sleep, the phone rang and the midwife said I should come in as things seemed to be happening faster than they had thought. The Mother's Hospital was a low-rise building, and as I walked up to the labour ward, I could hear Noreen. She was shouting, "Oh God," and "Oh Jesus." Not great cries for a religious place. Anyway, I hurried up and joined her in her labour ward room. There was a midwife with her who said she would leave Noreen and me for the moment. As in those days, they suggested women in labour use controlled breathing to bear the pain of the contractions. So I was encouraging her to do the breathing. Between the contractions there would be little time to relax before the next one. It was like a long nightmare all night long. The midwife must have popped in and out to us, but I don't remember her doing so during the night. I only remember when the morning shift came in, a midwife and a doctor came and said they wanted to get this baby born. They thought both Noreen and the baby must be tired. And how? So they were going to use forceps. Forceps are used to grab the baby's head and pull the baby into the world. So they made some cuts to avoid accidental tears, and then the forceps pulled our first baby out. Then they cleaned everything up and showed our daughter Moira. After the doctor had stitched up the cuts, Noreen was moved to the afterbirth ward. I went off home. It was Sunday, 4th of May 1975, and the most beautiful of mornings. A big blue sky and the sun already high in the sky. I was contacting Noreen's and my family, telling them all that everything was fine. There was such a happy feeling to that day, and I don't think I went to bed, but just rested until I would go out at visiting time to see mother and child. I went in to Noreen, and she was feeling sore, and that morning the religious service was held in her ward, and she wasn't allowed out of bed to avoid it. But anyway, Moira was a great baby, and everything was so wonderful.